Turning to major developments in international diplomacy, President Donald Trump has announced he is actively brokering a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This move aims to accelerate a peace process for the war in Ukraine, which has now been ongoing for nearly 4 years. The announcement came yesterday evening, following a day of high-stakes meetings at the White House. President Zelenskyy and several key European leaders, including German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron, were in Washington for discussions centered on finding a path to a lasting resolution. In a post on his Truth Social platform, President Trump confirmed that after the talks concluded, he placed a direct call to President Putin. He stated, quote, "I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelenskyy." The White House's plan outlines a two-step process. First, the Russian and Ukrainian leaders would meet one-on-one. Following that crucial bilateral discussion, a trilateral summit would be held, involving both presidents and President Trump. In his statement, Trump described the day's events as, quote, "a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years." Confirmation of the call came from Moscow as well. Yuri Ushakov, a senior aide to President Putin, told reporters that the phone conversation lasted approximately 40 minutes and characterized the dialogue as candid and very constructive. Ushakov added that President Putin expressed his support for direct negotiations between Russian and Ukrainian delegations. Adding a potential timeline to these developments, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz reportedly told sources that during the call with President Trump, Putin agreed in principle to meet with Zelenskyy within the next 2 weeks. The day was not without its unscripted moments. A hot mic caught President Trump in a candid aside to French President Macron, whispering, "I think he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that?" As crazy as it sounds. The White House has not commented on the private remark. This diplomatic push follows last week's summit in Alaska between President Trump and President Putin, signaling a concerted effort by the administration to mediate an end to the long and devastating conflict. Shifting from international diplomacy back to Washington, another major story is developing on Capitol Hill concerning the long-running investigation into the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. The Department of Justice has informed the House Oversight Committee that it will begin turning over documents related to the case this Friday. This marks a significant development in the committee's bipartisan probe into the handling of Epstein's case and his network of associates. The committee's chairman, Republican James Comer, had initially set a subpoena deadline for today, August 19th. However, Comer announced yesterday that he was extending the deadline to Friday in what he described as a gesture of goodwill, citing the Justice Department's cooperation. In a statement, Comer said, "Officials with the Department of Justice have informed us that the department will begin to provide Epstein-related records to the Oversight Committee this week on Friday." He acknowledged the vast number of files involved, stating, "It will take the department time to produce all the records and ensure the identification of victims and any child sexual abuse material are redacted." The committee's request is extensive. It seeks all documents and communications related to Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, including files pertaining to human trafficking, the controversial 2007 Fritz Suldau 7 non-prosecution agreement granted to Epstein by federal prosecutors in Florida, and materials related to his death in a New York jail cell while awaiting trial. The subpoena demands the documents be largely unredacted to provide a clear picture for investigators. This probe has also cast a wide net, issuing subpoenas to several high-profile figures. Former Attorney General Bill Barr was deposed by the committee just yesterday in a closed-door session. Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are scheduled for their own depositions in October. The renewed congressional focus comes after the Trump administration's own Justice Department declared its review of the matter closed, a conclusion that sparked backlash and prompted President Trump to direct the release of related grand jury testimony, a matter still tied up in the courts. While one investigation moves forward with document production, a tragic incident in Florida is sparking a fierce debate over immigration policy and state versus federal authority. The controversy centers on Harjinder Singh, a truck driver accused of causing a highway crash that killed 3 people. Singh was arrested in Stockton, California, over the weekend on 3 counts of vehicular homicide. The core of the political dispute is how Singh, who entered the country illegally, was able to obtain a commercial driver's license. On Monday, officials from the Department of Homeland Security clashed publicly with the office of California Governor Gavin Newsom. Tricia McLaughlin, the DHS Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, stated that Singh's application for work authorization was rejected under the Trump administration on September 14, 2020. However, it was later approved under the Biden administration on June 9, 2021. This was a direct rebuttal to a post from Governor Newsom's office, which had claimed the Trump administration was responsible for issuing Singh's work permit. McLaughlin wrote, "False. Harjinder Singh is in the United States illegally, and his work authorization was rejected under the Trump administration." She also clarified that commercial driver's licenses are issued by individual states, not the federal government. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem weighed in forcefully, blaming California's state laws. She stated, 3 innocent people were killed in Florida because Gavin Newsom's California DMV issued an illegal alien a commercial driver's license. This gut-wrenching tragedy should have never happened. Secretary Noem added that her department would work with the Department of Transportation to prevent what she termed sanctuary jurisdictions from issuing such licenses to undocumented immigrants. Singh, who officials say crossed the border in 2018, remains in custody on both the state homicide charges and federal immigration violations. And finally, turning to the future of American energy, a landmark agreement has been announced in the nuclear power sector. The Tennessee Valley Authority, or TVA, is set to become the first electric utility in the United States to formally commit to purchasing power generated by a small modular nuclear reactor, often referred to as an SMR. This pioneering deal, unveiled yesterday, is a 3-way partnership between the TVA, the reactor developer Kairos Power, and the technology giant Google. Under the terms of the agreement, Kairos Power's Hermes 2 demonstration plant, located in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, will supply up to 50 megawatts of carbon-free electricity. This power will be used to support Google's large data centers in Montgomery County, Tennessee, and Jackson County, Alabama. The project is scheduled to come online by the year 2030. The 50-megawatt output is enough to power approximately 35,000 homes and represents a significant step in proving the viability of new, advanced nuclear technologies. Mike Laufer, the CEO and co-founder of California-based Kairos Power, said the collaboration is a critical enabler for making advanced nuclear energy commercially competitive. This agreement is seen by industry experts as a major vote of confidence in SMR technology, which promises smaller, safer, and more flexible nuclear power generation compared to traditional large-scale reactors. The deal could pave the way for wider adoption of this next-generation energy source across the country.